Imagine a single warship so advanced, so silent, and so overwhelmingly powerful that it could end a naval conflict before it even begins. A destroyer that doesn't just fire missiles, it predicts attacks, sees beyond the horizon, controls drones, jams satellites, and wipes out enemy fleets while staying completely invisible. Today, you are diving into the one modern naval monster that military analysts around the world are calling the destroyer that could end any naval war. And trust me, once you hear what this vessel can do, you'll understand exactly why rival nations are panicking and why this ship has quietly changed the balance of naval power for the next decade. Before we break this down, I want you to imagine a scenario. It's 2 a.m. A hostile fleet moves silently through contested waters, confident nobody can see them. Then suddenly radar screens go blank, communications shut down, drones crash from the sky, and within seconds, missiles appear on their sensors. By the time they understand what's happening, it's already over. Because the destroyer that launched the attack never even appeared on their radar. That's the world we're entering right now. And once you understand how this ship works, you'll never look at naval war the same way again. This isn't just a warship, it's a floating algorithm, a ghost, a hunter, a ship designed not for old-school naval battles, but for a future where information dominance is the first weapon and the last. And when you hear its capabilities, you're going to realize something uncomfortable. Even the largest navies on us are now vulnerable to a single vessel. Let's start with the first terrifying advantage, invisibility. While most destroyers reduce radar signatures, this one takes it a step further. Its angular frame, radar-absorbing coating, and the thermal masking combined make it almost impossible to detect. Enemy radars don't see a massive 150-meter warship, they see something the size of a fishing boat. That means this destroyer can get close. Very close. Closer than any rival navy ever wants a ship like this to get. And then there's its brain. Because this ship uses AI-assisted threat detection that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously, from satellite pings to underwater drones to hypersonic missiles. It sees everything. It predicts everything. It makes real-time decisions faster than any human can. And in a naval war, where seconds determine survival, that difference is devastating. But what scares military planners most isn't the sensors, or the stealth, or even the AI. It's the weapons. Because this destroyer isn't armed like any traditional warship. No, it's arsenally something out of a future battlefield. First, it carries next-generation cruise missiles capable of flying so low they skim inches above the ocean. These missiles maneuver like fighter jets, switch flight paths mid-trajectory, and strike with pinpoint accuracy. Imagine a weapon that can slip through defenses, dodge interception, and destroy an enemy destroyer before they even realize the threat is coming. That's what this ship carries, dozens of them. Next, it includes hypersonic strike weapons that can travel at 5 to 10 times the speed of sound. At those speeds, even the best missile defense systems in the world have almost no more chance of stopping them. If this destroyer launches a hypersonic missile, the enemy only has one option: brace for impact. But that still isn't the final form of firepower, because the ship is also equipped with directed energy weapons. Yes, lasers, high-energy beams capable of destroying drones, blinding radar systems, disabling missiles, and defying electronics from miles away. These lasers are silent, invisible, and incredibly fast. And when they fire, the enemy never sees the beam, they only see the explosion. This means the destroyer doesn't waste million-dollar missiles on drones or small threats. It simply vaporizes them at the speed of light. And we're still not done. The destroyer's most controversial weapon is its electromagnetic railgun. Instead of gunpowder, it uses electromagnetic energy to launch projectiles at insane velocities. These rounds can travel more than 200 kilometers, hitting targets with kinetic force alone, no explosives needed. A railgun shot doesn't just punch a hole through a ship, it tears entire sections apart. Other navies are trying to develop railguns. This destroyer already has one operational. Now imagine combining stealth, i.e., hypersonic weapons, lasers, and the railgun into one vessel. That alone would make it the most dangerous warship at sea. But what truly sets it apart is something even more crucial: battle control. This destroyer acts as a command center for unmanned systems. It deploys underwater drones to hunt submarines. It launches aerial drones for surveillance, jamming, or even kamikaze strikes. It uses surface drones to create decoys or run electronic warfare attacks. The ship no longer fights alone, it fights with a swarm. And every drone becomes an extension of the destroyer's brain. This swarm concept means the destroyer can overwhelm enemy fleets without ever exposing itself. The drones distract, jump, confuse, and while the destroyer stays silent, gathering data, and preparing the real strike. But here's where things get even more intense: communication warfare. The destroyer can shut down satellite links, jam radio frequencies, and blind enemy radars. It can shoot off a fleet's ability to call for help. Imagine an enemy admiral suddenly realizing none of his ships can communicate. No more backup, no more coordination, no more way to detect incoming missiles. And then the destroyer strikes. This combination stealth, drones, jamming, hypersonics opens a terrifying possibility. One destroyer could break an entire fleet. The foul nations know this. They understand exactly why the existence of this ship is causing panic. Because if one navy has this capability and the others don't, traditional naval power becomes meaningless. Aircraft carriers become vulnerable. Submarines lose their stealth advantage. Conventional destroyers become expensive targets. Countries that previously relied on large fleets suddenly find themselves outmatched by a single vessel that costs far less but can do far more. And here's the twist. This destroyer wasn't built to fight all wars. It was built to dominate future oceans shaped by drones, i.e., hypersonics, and electronic warfare. The nations trying to copy this design are already years behind, and the ones ignoring it, they're preparing for a world that no longer exists. Let's go even deeper. Because the psychological impact is massive, naval commanders now have to think differently. Instead of asking, where is the enemy fleet? They must ask, is the destroyer already here? Watching US, tracking US, preparing to strike. The uncertainty alone is a weapon. Fear becomes a strategy. Imagine two fleets preparing for battle. One fleet has traditional ships visible, trackable, predictable. The other has a ghost destroyer. Who do you think holds the advantage? Even before the fight begins, morale shifts. Confidence collapses. Every radar blip becomes a threat. Every unknown signal becomes a warning. This is how wars are won before the first missile is even launched. But the bigger question is, what does this mean for global power in 2025 and beyond? Nations with destroyers like this will control sea lanes. They'll secure trade routes. They'll dominate choke points. And they'll have a massive advantage in any regional conflict. Meanwhile, nations without this technology will scramble to upgrade their fleets, drain their budgets, and attempt to close the gap. This ship doesn't just change battles, it changes geopolitics. Even alliances shift. Countries want protection. They want access to the technology. They want guarantees that this destroyer won't be used against them. And for nations that already feel threatened, this ship becomes a symbol of imbalance, something that forces them to rethink strategy, diplomacy, and deterrence. All because of one vessel. And let's be honest, this destroyer is just the beginning. Future versions will be even more advanced, faster, smarter, more silent. Some may not even require human crews. They may operate autonomously, powered by AI systems that learn, adapt, and respond faster than any captain or admiral. You are looking at the start of a new naval era. An era where wars won't be fought by fleets of dozens of ships, but by a handful of incredibly advanced vessels that can control entire oceans through technology. And that brings us to the critical final thought. If one destroyer can change everything, imagine what a fleet of them could do. Imagine the oceans in 2030. Imagine naval battles that last minutes instead of hours. Imagine a world where the first ship to detect the enemy wins instantly. That's the reality this destroyer brings. And now, as we close, here's the question that world leaders, military planners, and strategists are all asking. If this destroyer can end any naval war, who controls the future of the oceans? And more importantly, who doesn't? If you want more deep dives like this, more advanced weapon breakdowns, and more military secrets that other channels don't dare to cover, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Because this is just the beginning. And the next video will blow your mind even more. And with that, I'll leave you with one final line to think about. The destroyer that could end any naval war is already here.